Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dave and Tom Show. And that's Tom Althouse. He's a screenplay writer, an actor, musician. Myself, I'm an author, and I've been familiar with the UFO scene for a while, several books now. But we're talking about current events, but we're also talking about them on WODY Radio, and that's OdysseyRadioLive.com, and that's with Eddie Carson, my buddy in Maryland, and we're doing I guess, a syndicated show with him, and he's going to be carrying the audio. We will be carrying the video, in which will end up on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, also BitChute, several other things, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So those are some of the places we'll be showing up. And we want to go into enlightening people. I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, we're kind of rehashing some of the same things, but the same things are occurring, but they're occurring now in more of a faster tempo. And if people paid attention, what we're trying to do is enlighten people to the news of the day, how it connects with the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the curtain. I have a curtain behind me, so I'm not behind the curtain. I'm in front of the curtain. and Tom's got a beautiful backdrop today. I told him about that. I like that. But Tom, you have any opening words you want to talk about enlightening people and going through all this stuff?
Yeah, it feels like I was thinking about recently about the timelines that if they feel that a timeline is going a certain way, the cabal does, then they'll alter that timeline by trying to influence those they feel are have the greater influence. And so right now, I think what's happening is the true timeline where the cabal hasn't messed with it is starting to be restored. So we're actually going to be heading the way we would have headed if the cabal had never messed things up. So, and my message to the cabal is, do good, do what's right, and it'll work better for you. And you'll be working with better people too. So do what's right and change the plans to be benevolent. And that's what I'm working on Disney and others to try to get them to understand.
Right. And this is for enlightenment. I know you people are wondering, well, what is all this enlightenment about? Well, we want to show you what's really going on and what's behind all this. And Tom has been there and done that. So that's why I like his input on all this stuff, what's going on behind that Wizard of Oz curtain. And it's not Dorothy clicking her high heels, that's for sure. There's a lot more going on. Let's get to the rapid news here. Florida Governor DeSantis routinely torches former President Donald Trump. I didn't know that. And I just read this article. And he calls Donald Trump a moron who has no business running for president, according to former DeSantis staffer. Now, that could be fake or false news, but it's in Vanity Fair. And Gabe Sherman writes that that goes both ways with Trump resenting DeSantis because he made him. He made DeSantis, and he did. He actually, propped it up, DeSantis for running for governor, and that all worked out just fine. But this is a piece from Vanity Fair. And so there is a little bit of infighting, but I haven't heard it. It hasn't hit the news. We don't know what's going on. Is it another piece of fake news? So Trump said, I made Ron, to Vanity Fair. Trump he says that about a lot of people, but DeSantis is true. So I hope these two get together because they're both powerful in the conservative side of things. And that was actually, not said on TV, but this Vanity Fair Reclaiming America article is what we're talking about. I just talked to Tom earlier before the show, and we went through some notes. I'm glad we did. The BlackRock, I guess they're the big money funders and everything. They had a news story over the weekend. And Tom, could you elaborate on that?
Well, contacts had told me that had a meeting with me and told me that there was bankruptcy being filed. If that's the case, it would fit the predictions we were talking about, that the cabal is collapsing. And I mean, BlackRock is I could venture it's the biggest money investor in the world. They own basically everything. They have their hands in everything. And so they're one of the tying elements, the sinew of the cabal, basically. And so if they were to file bankruptcy or in some shape or form, that would signal something major happening, where either they're getting another skin or they're in real trouble. It wouldn't be financial trouble. I couldn't see that. I could see it as their reputation or things being revealed on certain numbers would be coming forward, and they're trying to dodge the bullets.
Right. I saw that story over the weekend, and it kind of slipped my mind because they did make a big issue on TV or radio yesterday. So it's something, and the CEO is Larry Fink, and the Vanguard Group actually owns BlackRock. I thought there's a billionaire involved. I think there is several billionaires if we get into the cabal area of it. Let's move to the next one, and there was a okay. Also the Vatican. The Pope he called all his assets in to the Vatican, and that's part maybe of all these big rich bankers pulling back a little bit into centralized locations to protect their assets. Is that what you're thinking, Tom?
I think they're getting ready for their next move. The next move is going to be a restructuring of our whole world system. So what they're doing now is I would see organizations trying to cash in, utilize, pull together everything they got now and take advantage of it before the shift. So that's what I would think is going on. I would expect to see billionaires and millionaires starting to uproot from certain countries like the US and starting to settle abroad and preparing for the big events that are coming.
Right. Yeah. And also, I've been hearing across the whole globe that there's big changes. There's changes in Europe and Italy. They voted in their first conservative or right wing leader in Italy, and also that happened in France. I think it's in Belgium or wherever that it's been. They've been I guess a left leaning government all throughout Europe, and now it's changing to the right wing or the conservative group. And there's something to all that. There must be something that they're protecting, or they're trying to fight with the right wingers, and they're calling them all kinds of names. Like they've been calling us the same thing, like Nazis and that type of thing. So yes, here we go here with population. Let's go to the population control, and that's part of the whole plan. There was an arrest made of a prominent Catholic activist on charges he assaulted a Planned Parenthood volunteer outside a Philadelphia clinic, and has sparked a standoff between the anti-abortion and movement and the federal government. Uh, Here again, we have the FBI that moved in and arrested this guy because he was protecting his son, his 12-year-old child, and he pushed back on some 72-year-old, I guess, abortion, a pro-abortion person, and they had a little squabble. But that guy didn't get in trouble. But the guy that got in trouble was the pro-life guy, and he's got a family of 7 kids, and he's a well-renowned, respected guy in the Catholic community, and he was just there to help, console people or people that come to the clinic. And this is from the Philadelphia Inquirer, and Anthony Wood wrote this. But I think what they're trying to do is increase these abortions, in which would control the population, right, Tom?
Well, also they're trying to bring down, sure, people that could be influential again. The Philadelphia Inquirer is the one that ran the cover article for Brian Fitzpatrick, who handles my sister, who's the lifelong FBI operative and Pennsylvania congressman who disrupted Ukraine. So what they're trying to do right now, also you're going to see vendetta hits on people where anyone, like it's basically those that are the top, like Brian Fitzpatrick and Pat Robertson, religious right. You're going to see them get to say whoever they want on a list dealt with. That's why terminal list is so popular right now. So I'm on a list, I was told by Robertson's group. And so they get to point and say, I want them dealt with. And you're going to see different people start to be given bogus charges that never meant anything, just anything to get them off the street and into behind bars.
Right. The FBI went to his home and arrested him.
Sure, they do.
They had 20 FBI agents there. They had guns pointed at him.
So that's I'd SWAT team with automatic weapons, lights, telling neighbors they better get inside. They don't want to see this because that means blood. So that's what they do. That's how they get rid of you. You haven't done anything wrong. Eating dinner for your son.
Yeah, the question I think come up on TV that says that the pro-abortion people, they start fires at these pro-life centers. And this incident that this guy ran over this 18-year-old MAGA supporter, he ran over him because he's afraid for his life. But I don't think that really was it. And vandalism has been, it's been at these pro-life centers and paint thrown on walls, people hurt, injured, and arrests are only made of pro-life peaceful demonstrators and
Yeah,
not the abortion people.
that's
So that's what the FBI is targeting.
that's what the FBI does. The FBI did that with my family too. When my son Aiden and his friend were approached, or actually chased down by four gentlemen in a black sedan with a car tinted windows, and came after him saying they're going to kill them, they're going to kill them, and effing this and effing that, chasing them down through thorns. They came back all muddy. We said, we'll call the police. The police were on the side of the assailants on these young kids. And so that's what they do. And they say you can file charges and nothing will be done about it. So the police are being used by the FBI to basically permit terror. That's what's going on.
Right. They're a political arm now of the Biden administration, of the Democrats. That's another thing too. Here's something as a news story that I didn't know about. But LinkedIn, if anybody uses LinkedIn, they ran into secret social experiments. They ran those experiments. Around 20 million people on the site, were used in this, and I guess this experiment, whatever social media experiment, but nobody was ever told. It was published in the journal Science, and this is UPI story. Researchers conducted multiple large-scale randomized experiments from 2015 to 2019 using the professional network site People You May Know algorithm to test the strength of the person's weaker social ties have on a job. So they're checking out how we socialize, how we network, and nobody was ever notified of those experiments. And the LinkedIn researchers were MIT, Harvard, and Stanford. And these are all West, they're left-leaning colleges.
Right. Well, Stanford, ITT, whatever, they're the ones that are also involved in the Longevity Project, and which fits the Immortal screenplay. They're coming up with the idea of creating the red longevity pill. So it's like I wouldn't be surprised at all. Stanford was involved. Yeah.
It just smells or reeks of something going on here. Just couple little notes here. Elon Musk, he was against AI, using AI like robotics and things. Now he's going to start working on AI and robots. Somebody must have gotten to him and told him, well, this is the future and this is what you got to do.
He's always been for it. He's always been for it. And the cover was that he was against it. That's for popularity, but he's always been for it. He's an insider from the studios and the FBI, put in position to claim credit for the work that's not his. So he's basically just a puppet face, and it doesn't really matter what his opinions and ideas are. He's being fed what he's supposed to do, and he gets greatly rewarded for that, getting to steal intellectual property and ideas in the process. I mean, I know that because Neuralink isn't his. And so that's him saying that. He's just admitting what he's been all along for.
Right. You can take a look. I had a list I talked to Tom about. So it's a list of what the New World Order wants. And actually, Biden is falling right into their hands. And he actually denies there's a recession. There's food prices are high. Inflation is way up, 8.5, I think. Gas is 3.75. It's going up. Crime is over the top. And they're all denying it. The border, they said, is actually being controlled, and it's not. Kamala Harris said that. Abortion, they're fighting abortion, but abortion is given to the states. Why not allow the states to handle that? And now we're looking at a world war, and we have a weak administration that's just not handling that. And here's a little Business Insider article. It says ex-CIA says Putin is completely backed in the corner, and says unlikely to de-escalate the war in Ukraine, turning to tactical nukes increasing as his option. What do you think of that?
They're pushing for that, Dave. They are right about backing him in the corner, because that was the game all along, was to try to egg him on, tweak his nose, and get him to respond. And they do that. They did that with me. They try to get me to respond by doing false reports and false claims and hauling me off. And so they're trying to incite Putin to make a reaction. They want that. They want that. They would love nothing more for them to send nukes on America.
Yeah, we don't know how this is going to turn out, but right now we have such weak leadership in Washington, D.C., and that's why China, North Korea, and Russia taking advantage of what's going on in the world. They're making further steps because they know there's nobody there to, I guess, punch back.
Well,
Somebody was on TV the other day, Tom, that was talking about what they're afraid of is that China and Russia, they're not really making too many moves. And this person actually said they're not going to make moves in other countries because they're afraid Trump may come back in office. What do you
well,
think about that?
I would say this. My honest opinion is that they appear weak, the people that are present right now, but they're not weak. They are pretending to be weak, and behind the scenes, they have a lot of power and control what's going on, a lot of greased palms, a lot of paid judges. So what you have is a situation where they know exactly what they're doing, but they want to appear weak. And I don't think China and Russia is afraid of Trump coming back. I think they're actually afraid. Actually, they're working in tandem with the plans of the elite, the globalists. So they're doing exactly what they're supposed to, all playing their parts. And we're supposed to think that we have a savior in the wings. We don't have a savior in the wings as far as a person. What's going on is it's all being played out exactly the way they want it to be played out. But as I was told by my good friend who's top in Nigeria, it's like, what happens is you've got China, Russia, and America all working in tandem as part of that global elite club. Now, Putin may be trying to do some things apart from that, but Russia, as its main body of power and financiers and money people, do want this to happen. It's playing out exactly what they want. They do want World War III. All the globalists want that because that allows elimination of population, and they can blame it on the war. So, yeah.
You're right about that. A lot of everybody knows that Biden and his staff are puppets, and there's strings connected to other people that are running things. They're thinking like behind the scenes, like Hillary, Obama, Susan Rice, people like that.
They don't give up their power. They don't want to. It's just like Disney. At Disney, Michael Eisner never gave up his power. He puts people in position and gets rid of them and gets new ones, but he still will always be in charge as Disney as long as he can. So it's the same thing with our government. It's like Biden's in there, and Biden's a greedy guy, along with his son. They're greedy and guilty of many, many crimes, but the people above him also are calling the shots. Biden's eager to receive the rewards of that stuff and can send the FBI wherever he wants, like my sister brags she can through Fitzpatrick. So basically, it's a smorgasbord these days of anybody who's part of the club can ask for one of the lambs to be slaughtered. That's what's going on right now. So you're going to see a lot of benevolent people who are leaders that actually care, being eliminated, false suicides, hauled off on 302s, saying they're going to be mass murderers, because they're going to clean the house of those that care. That really is what it comes down to. So they can then get away with what they're doing. They don't want to be caught by what they're doing. So if any of these guys like Biden's son is afraid of a certain people could reveal them on their evidence they have, then they'll have them removed. Hillary Clinton, the same thing. And you're going to see a lot of this globally, where they're going to start getting rid of those that might have dirt on them, just like they pulled Building 7, just like they got rid of the records in my case. They're going to start cleaning house of all records that might implicate any of their membership. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And just like in World War II with Hitler, Hitler always blamed the people of Germany, or the half that didn't go for him. He blamed them as being Nazis and fascists, and he said that the Jews were taking over Germany. So he actually scared the people in, and he was actually everything he was saying about being a fascist, that's what he was. Well, actually, Hillary Clinton said the same thing the other day about Trump and all his people. It said, well, we're fascist, the people that support Trump, and they raised their hands. But they're raising their hands not to say Heil Hitler or Heil Trump. They're raising their hands as a gesture of supporting the Trump. And she raises her hands. There was a news collage the other day about her raising her hands all the time in her speeches. So this is the double standard hypocrisy.
That's the way they play.
Yeah. And it's kind of like people need to see through this. And I hear a couple of news stations that are saying, yes, people are seeing through this, but are they really?
We need an institutional body that has the teeth in order to fight for the rights of the innocent that are being eliminated and their property taken. So we need a body that's able to officially, composed of really crackerjack attorneys, judges that do understand what's going on and aren't purchasable, also media groups that can actually put the word out and not be stopped. We need to divide this into a very big working entity that can actually pull some weight, and then people can feel like something's actually being done.
True. We need some honesty. Uh, I'm going to go through some quick stories here, Tom. We can stop whenever we see an interest here. Edward Snowden, that famous spy the U.S. wants really bad, he's going to get Russian citizenship under Putin decree. But I heard he has to serve in the Russian army and fight in Ukraine to get that freedom.
That is all. It's all hogwash. Basically, what you have is Snowden is a plant of the CIA and FBI. He is doing exactly what they want him to do. And the fact that the mainstream media broadcast his weeping story about how he wants to be with his wife and child and get dual citizenship, how the hell is he going to get dual citizenship? If he was like me or you, he wouldn't get it. But right now he's getting mainstream, great graphics. I saw the graphics they're showing for him, really well graphics, sympathetic stories, airtime on the mainstream media owned by the cabal. The cabal, he's a puppet for the cabal. Snowden is not somebody who's a hero, but they're bringing him out right now to groom him, just like Keanu Reeves, to draw the focus of the public. Snowden has done nothing for us.
What's it
going to? Yeah,
what's his
shit from both parties wouldn't happen.
What's his final destination? Does he get back to the U.S. or does he?
When the FBI and the CIA and the Pentagon are done exploiting what they need and getting what they need from Snowden, he'll come home here as well.
He's not going to serve in Ukraine under the Russian flag.
Oh, no, he won't be in Ukraine military. No way. The Pentagon is the one that created Snowden. He is doing what the Pentagon wants. He's a fake person, just like Elon Musk. And so everything Snowden's been saying, just look at the graphics and the details of the graphics and how well done everything is done and how they groom him just like he's a celebrity star in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that's America doing that. So Snowden's supposed to be a distraction for the American public. So you don't really look at those that are actually suffering.
Okay, let's look at the world trafficking humans. I guess they got slave trafficking. We mentioned India last week, and actually Apple says it will produce iPhone 14s in India.
Sure.
And they're taking their work from the U.S. and taking it to India. And Trump was against that. He said, do all the work here in the U.S. But now they're taking it to India where they can get cheap labor. It makes sense.
India has an underground deal with America that they're supplying us homebred criminals to do the bidding of the cabal. So you see a lot of attorneys being funded by Bill Gates Foundation from India to serve as henchmen in America to disrupt our judicial system. So India and the cabal in America have an agreement where they're supplying us with thugs. And so wouldn't be surprised that we're sending industry over there too, as a thank you, scratch your back, scratch ours.
Yes. And this was world news outlet. So also the other story about Snowden was UPI. So these are sources and these are sourced stories. I just want people to know.
Yeah. How did Snowden get all this news coverage? How to get mainstream media to cover him? If the mainstream media covers you that much, you're an insider. They're not going to let you have airtime. They're going to disrupt it like they did us, that we had to switch to Skype instead of Zoom because it disrupted us so much. That's what they would do to Snowden if Snowden was genuine. Snowden is collecting off the charts from both ends because he's doing exactly what the cabal wants him to do.
Right. And Canada and possibly North Korea will address the United Nations, I guess, soon. So that ought to be fun to watch that. Another thing, the UN chief urges into nuclear weapons for future generations. So I wonder how far that's going to go. And then we talk about TikTok could face a $29 million British fine for failing to protect children's privacy. Well, TikTok is famously monitored by China, right?
I've heard something to the effect, but yeah.
Yeah, TikTok, I don't even want to mess with. I heard too many things about it, but yeah, they're being fined by not protecting children's privacy. That could be intentional. Who knows? But that come from world news also.
Well, that's usually a punitive measure where they try to shut down groups that are actually trying to do something to help. And so that was done to many corporations that were actually trying to help others. They would get stuck with some of these investigations where they try to dirty your name in the public. So yeah.
Right, and we're talking about world money and the banks. They said the British pound falls to new lows against the U.S. dollar. So it's happening in Europe a little faster than it is here in the U.S. and they said the value of Britain's pound tumbled on Monday to its lowest point against the U.S. dollar since 1985. We are really breaking some records on inflation and also currency exchanges. It's like you said, you know, the world banks and the cabal are all working together to squeeze everything they can
Yeah,
to
the
get.
Federal Reserve can correct anything anytime they want because they own the money system in America. So
Right.
they can do whatever they want. They can print whatever they want, do it, affect it, and then go back to their golf and brandy and cigars.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, yeah, and people need to know. They said, you know, you we're talking here, and I know there's a lot of people who make their comments, but how, you know, why are we into this background noise that's going on behind the current events, and what you're saying, and what I'm seeing myself just by studying these events, they are happening in a timely affair, and I have more information than what you told me, kind of withhold for a while, more information about how all these things that what I'm reading off, they all fit the agenda of the cabal in which you're talking about.
That's right. That's right. They show that, and especially the distraction stuff. Like when you mentioned Snowden, tell me one time Snowden looked haggard. Did he ever look haggard? He looks like he's been groomed, made up by professional makeup artists, and the backgrounds and the music, everything's done very expensive and very intricately. And so what you see is a very groomed person. When you're actually somebody on the run that's doing stuff, you look haggard. You look haggard and you're worried for your family and you're concerned about what you're saying. You're careful about what you say. No, you don't get on there and speak like a talking head. So it's easy for people to decipher who is genuine, who is not. It's very simple.
Right. I know that Putin is pretty. He's a pretty tough guy, and he's hard to crack. And Snowden will have his hands full there. I don't know if he can match Putin in some of these secrecies. But we're moving up, you know, to a break. But I got one more story here. Oh, let's talk about the Hurricane Ian, Category 4, that's going to hit Florida, and it's going to be centralized in Tampa. I just had a friend of mine in the ufology business, and she's a good friend, and she said that they're moving out from their location, and it looks like it's not going to be really good for Florida, and that's a sad thing. But we want to mention that too, that we hope everybody is safe in that kind of situation. And this is the first hurricane, and they said that in a way we've been lucky because we normally have 3 or 4 other hurricanes before this one at this time of year. But lucky, not for Florida this time, but for all you people, you know, heed and pay attention. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to the Dave and Tom show. Dave Emmons, Tom Althouse, and we're talking about current events and also what's behind the curtain of all these current events. And we're also syndicated through WDY Radio, and that's in Maryland. And Eddie Carson, my buddy there, and that's OdysseyRadioLive.com. And we'll be right back. Hi again, and I know everybody, I say this all the time, that everybody's watching video. They say, well, these guys didn't go away. They're right there. But no, this is for radio syndication, and people have to understand we got to take that break for WODY Radio in Maryland. Eddie Carson, and that's OdysseyRadioLive.com. This is the Dave Emmons and Tom Althouse show. And of course, Tom has a background in the cabal and all these other things, and he knows a lot about what's going on. He worked in Hollywood as a screenplay writer. He worked with, I guess, Disney World, and he's an actor, he's a musician, talented writer, and he's got a background in all this. So that's why I like doing the shows with him, because he can actually fill in the blanks to the questions that I might have on the current events. And I want to talk about also this UPI story. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly, called Russia's invasion of Ukraine senseless and a violation of the United Nations Charter, while promising the country to be ready to join other nations to tackle climate change control. I don't want to go on. There's something else added to that, but I don't want to talk about that. But they're wanting to get, I guess they want to get started in this Green New Deal. And that Green New Deal is part of the direction of the cabal, right, Tom?
It is absolutely part of the direction of the cabal. What they're doing is preparing the planet for themselves. It's not going to help the mass of the population. What they're doing is they're starting to prepare their idea of making a beautiful planet for themselves when they go and eliminate the rest. So really what they're doing is preparing for the change, for the switch over. where they eliminate a large portion of the population.
Right. She's trying to put the U.S. in the corner about this decision about going and tackling the climate control. They want us involved in it too. And of course, we know Justin Trudeau and his direction of his country. A lot of people don't like his direction, and we think he's been influenced. You believe that?
Yeah. Oh, Justin Trudeau was instrumental in what harmed my family. He works with Hollywood. He's a guy who's a wannabe Hollywood groupie. And so Justin Trudeau is basically a playboy in Canada and not a politician. And so he likes the parties and everything. And he has a lot of the top people in my situation, Hollywood moguls like Joel Silver and the rest, coming up to Canada to film. And so he makes money on that. And he also gets to party with them. And so basically he called my son and I enemies of attacking Canada. So basically, yeah, and he helped Jill Silver in the ripoff of my program by allowing him to get away with even hit and runs in his own country. So Trudeau is a criminal. He's basically a playboy criminal.
Well, the people aren't happy up in Canada, that's for sure, and they're depending on us to stop the cabal, to stop the New World Order,
Right.
and we're not making many moves. I mean, we have a weak political system, and like I said last week, I'd like to see bikers and people off the street go and sit in the seats in the House, and they start running the country instead of these people that we have in there. I want to go to a couple of quick stories here. Russia had a situation. This is UPI. The other story from Canada was also a UPI story. This story here from Russia is a sad story, but it relates to what's going on in this country, the lawlessness, the mass shootings. In Russia, there was 13 people killed, and 7 of them were kids. 21 were injured. This was a shooting at a school, and the shooter had 2 pistols, and he killed himself. So we're not the only country that has to put up with these crazies and this whack-a-mole stuff that goes on with these mass shootings. And it's a sad, all around the world, and most countries, like in Europe, they use knives. So what weapon is as long as people are being killed, that's the sad part. It doesn't matter what kind of weapon it is.
That's right. And that's all part of this whole plan of the cabal, to have these shootings and where they're done. And they influence certain people to do it, claiming they'll be famous if they do it. And so basically you've got in America and now Russia also, one of the biggest media boons for the cabal own media, is to have shootings, school shootings. They love it. It gets their ratings up. They get to do all this material. It covers a lot of program time, and they get top ratings for shootings. They want it.
They stopped a potential mass shooter in Las Vegas this past few days. The sheriff's department stopped. He was all ready to do the same thing as this mass shooter did a couple of years ago, and I'm glad they stopped it. But there could be mind control. I was looking at the list.
I would venture, Dave, that the sheriff's department may have gotten in trouble for stopping him, because they would want that to go through. The FBI, CIA, and the media would want that to go through. They want the shootings. So that's what
you're talking mind control.
Yeah, I would say even personally going and suggesting they do it. It's like that they'll be famous, that they'll be known. I've heard talk from inside about that they get people to do this in order to be famous. Yeah.
The Manchurian Candidate, you've seen these movies years ago. These things are actually true. That really goes on. There is mind control. A little lighter story in my area. Pujols, the Cardinals baseball team, he went over the 700 mark for home runs. He's number 4 now in home runs. That's a light story. But then we get to this other one, science. I guess the cabal actually wants to control science, but the UPI story says NASA's double asteroid redirection test, also known as DART, slammed into an asteroid Monday night in its first planetary defense test that could protect Earth from future threats of impacts of asteroids. And I thought that was great. That's a great deal. And I guess, does the cabal or any of these underground outfits, secret societies, are they wanting to stop science?
No. Think of it this way. Whatever keeps it interesting and benefits them after the shift, after the elimination of certain population. So you're going to see certain programs like greening the Earth, space programs, things like this continue, because they want that after the mass murder of a large portion of the population of the world, after they reset the planet the way they want it, and they leave how they want. So these certain programs it's going to be interesting because certain people that are marked to be eliminated are actually going to be help funding programs, not for their future and their children's future, for the future of the elite after they're gone. They don't even know it. So
Yeah.
basically, anything that makes it more interesting for the cabal or the elite is going to be proffered now and put forward as beneficial. And it'll look like they're helping us. It's not for us.
Right. I watched that story about that satellite or whatever they sent into that meteor. I watched it and they had good pictures of it going in and then hitting, and now they're trying to measure how much movement they did to that asteroid to find out if it's worthwhile. But that was an uplifting story. We hear too many other bad stories. Now getting to part of what's causing Putin to have a little stress on him. There was a suspect arrested on felony charges of endangering the life of a police officer in illegal weapons possession. This gunfire erupted right after a Russian field officer gave a spirited speech to motivate the men to continue the fight in Ukraine, which Russia has occupied since February. Nobody is going to go to anywhere, this guy said. The suspect said before pulling his firearm, according to The Guardian, which cited local news reports from inside Russia. So they're actually demonstrating and actually getting, I guess they're having some demonstrations and some riots. And this is the UPI report also. And a defiant Putin announced the national mobilization of hundreds of thousands of Russian army reservists, that's 300,000 from what I understand, to move in a widespread protest. And then there's a widespread protest against the country doing this. So that's putting Putin under pressure. That's part of the pressure. He's trying to pull up 300,000 more troops, and he's having a hard time of it because his people don't like that, and they arrested this one woman, I guess, or shot her or something. I don't know the secret inside of it, but what happened there is he stirred up people in Russia on the streets. That's part of the pressure. I just hope that they keep the pressure up on that situation, and so he sought to shore up his alliances with China and with other Western adversaries after suffering devastating losses in the war, including deaths of 50,000 soldiers and tanks and weapons. He's lost a lot in this war, and he's not going to back out. And the country's not going to let him go any further either. I don't think they're from the way they're going. I hope they keep it up. And also, in Iran, we also have demonstrations and riots there in Iran for the same reason, because they arrested a woman there for protesting for her rights. So, that's another deal, that they have unrest in every country, even in countries that we don't favor, like Russia, Iran. So they're having all these. And also said China has a lot more problems than what they're telling us. The people there are hungry, and they don't do protests that much because they get shot over there. But there's a lot of problems in China, which they're not really letting out and telling us about. And it says Germany signs new gas deal with UAE amid reductions in Russian fuel. I heard there was a pipeline or something that was bombed. I didn't get all the information on that. I heard it come across the TV this morning. They were talking about that. And of course, the U.S. and South Korea, they're doing their drills, and the North Korea missile launch. 2 U.S. veterans captured by Russia and Ukraine return home. That's a good deal. How they got that done through Biden, that's a miracle. So it's kind of like, Tom, that you see, why are countries like Russia, Iran, and China, who they're not in the cabal, right?
No, they're all part of the cabal. It's a one world society being formed. It's even in the screenplay, the original work, way back before Matrix, is that there are deals proffered and made between every major country. Their leadership, their top people are offered to join a program, worldwide program for the elite. That's things I've experienced myself when I was offered these offers. And so that's what's in the screenplay. So no, there is no country that's free, hands clean from cabal influence. And so that's what's been going on. It's supposed to make, if you bring the elite, they call themselves the elite, and you get all of them to agree, and you make common humanity the bad guys. And that's how they do it. So yeah, so no country's free of this.
Right. I looked at this Iran story, and we're not actually supporting the the people that are challenging the government there in Iran. That's what happened before with Obama. We didn't support those people. Those people out in the streets, the common people of Iran, are basically, a lot of them are good people,
Yes, they are.
and they would like to have, what we have is a democracy. I guess they still want a democracy, not sure, but they're wanting to have a better life. They want to have more control in their life, and I guess these leaders of the country, religious leaders, the Islamic leaders, won't let them have that. So they're protesting. But again, the Biden administration is not supporting those people that are rioting and going against those bad regimes. So we need the CIA to redirect their actions and go there and help
No.
those people.
We need the
No.
CIA. We need the CIA dismantled. A lot of these people overseas that you're talking about, that's the story we're fed as U.S. citizens. A lot of these people in these other countries want the CIA and the FBI hands out of their country. That's what they want. A lot of good people that are trying to bring good change and democracy in their countries want the CIA and FBI out. Yet we're fed a story that it's the FBI they want. No, they don't. They don't want the FBI. They don't want the CIA. The main culprits in our world stirring up terrorism is the FBI and the CIA. So, and along with England. So we need to stop, dismantle. We need to cut the funding for the FBI and CIA, and you'll have a more peaceful world. But see, that's what we're being fed in this country, is that these people want them to come. No, they don't. No, they don't. We don't want the Gestapo, or we don't want Russians, KGB in America, do we? Are the people crying for the KGB to come to America? We're not. Just like other countries are, it's just BS that other countries are claiming they want the CIA and FBI to come. They don't. CIA and FBI want to control their power worldwide. So that's what people need to realize, is that people really, the main cry in our world is, please get the FBI and the CIA out of our countries. Let us have our sovereign states back. That includes the Ukraine. The FBI, and I got the article right here. The FBI, the man that was sent to Ukraine to destabilize it, was the man that holds my sister right here. There's the cover article in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And that man he was FBI, lifelong FBI, Pennsylvania congressman, contradiction of checks and balances for the founding fathers in our country, is the one that went there along with Trudeau's guy to destroy their infrastructure to then control the Ukraine. They even say in the article that the Attorney General wasn't moving fast enough on the reforms the FBI wanted. How can the FBI have a say in Ukraine's decisions? And then it also says that the $1 billion, like $1 billion in, it says here, the Congressman's, Fitzpatrick, personal experience regarding their former Attorney General, who destroyed his reputation, was not cooperative with the FBI's anti-corruption efforts in Ukraine, that he posed a hindrance regarding numerous investigative matters, that he wasn't moving fast enough on reforms the FBI wanted in Ukraine. What is he saying? How dare they? That's like saying that in the United States, the Attorney General for the United States, one of them was removed because they weren't working fast enough on reforms the KGB wanted, and the KGB, they posed an effort to the KGB's anti-corruption efforts in America. Does it make any sense? So the FBI is playing puppet master with countries around the world, and there's the very man who's a U.S. congressman who handles my sister, giving her black tie dinners, rewards, held her picture up on the floor of Congress after an attempted 302 on me. So what I'm saying is the FBI and the CIA are destroying the sovereign rights of countries around the world. We are in the best position to solve world problems by not looking at other countries and blaming them, by getting it right in our own home. We are the terrorists. This country is providing the terrorists by the Pentagon, CIA, and FBI. And soon that's going to be common knowledge. It's going to be common knowledge, Dave, that are causing the problem.
We have the FBI working on us,
Yep.
their own citizens of the U.S.
That's right. They're hauling me off all the time. They're disrupting our programs. They're shutting us down, and they support the movie moguls. So the FBI and the CIA are the terrorists of the world. And as soon as they are defunded, you're going to see a better world. Iran will be better. Russia will be better. China's citizens will have their way. It is not what the media is painting. We are the culprits. We are the ones that are criminals. And we destabilized Ukraine. so we can turn it into this issue to tweak Putin's nose. So it's time
Well,
for the FBI to step down. Yeah, that's why. How many times have we interrupted? Our phones, our computers interrupted all the time by the FBI who brag about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's your world.
And with all the control, especially with the LinkedIn story, they're controlling it there. There's more to that.
That's why Snowden's on the forefront. That's why it's good cop, bad cop. Snowden and the FBI aren't at odds. Snowden's working for the FBI. He's simply doing the job he's supposed to do, and they created that scenario to make it look like they're against each other. It's good cop, bad cop. Yeah. So Snowden's a criminal. And he's in Russia, but he's allowed to return to the US. They'll let him return as a hero's welcome. You watch. But I'm sorry to give the bad news, but the good news is the key to solving the world's problems and having peace and stopping the cabal is defunding the FBI and the CIA. There you go. That's how we do it.
Minority Leader McCarthy is talking about if they gain control of the House, he said that's what they're going to do. They're going to restructure the FBI.
That's what I'm saying. You got an FBI operative as a congressman. No FBI operative is supposed to be a congressman. That's two different branches that are supposed to be checks and balances established by the founding fathers. So what they're getting away with is murder. I've got 2 dead sons because of Brian Fitzpatrick, who's FBI and a congressman from Pennsylvania, handling my sister and saying that he's going to make sure my life is hell. My sister relayed that to me using Secret Service. That's where we are. Terrorists are in our home ground, in our backyard. That's
right. And they're actually making raids with all their weapons, 20, 30 FBI agents on people that are peaceful people.
All the time.
They're doing it to let us know, look out. We're coming for you.
Right. They're banging our door all the time. I'm waiting for the knock all the time. I'm told they're coming by sources that friends are contacted all the time. Trump was harassed by the FBI. They went and looked for something. They didn't have what they were looking for. They went and looked for anything, and then later saying, given a lot of time to say later, we were looking for this. No, you weren't. You went in looking for anything, rifle through clothes, anything, because you wanted to find something to legitimize why you went in to put dirt on Trump. But the thing is that Trump is one of those that they're afraid of might just return some sovereignty to the people. So they got to make him a criminal. That's what
right. Well, actually, the story of that is in which we have to be, I guess, open to that on the airways that we're talking, that the court, the trial, and the DOJ haven't produced their case yet. So that's not a conclusion. It's just what you're knowing on the inside of things.
That's right.
And you're making these predictions of what's going on.
Let me predict that nothing's going to happen to Trump in the end. They're simply creating a big distraction. They pissed him off. That was a mistake. But the FBI has felt their power way too much. My sister brags about it all the time, how much power they have, how much power she has. And she's drunk on power now. She's all about power now, not peacemaking, she said. So what you have is a situation where these people become polluted with this idea of power. And the contacts that contact me say it's all about power. That's all they understand. So the FBI and CIA only believe they're top that it's all about power. That makes a rough world. That makes it tough for everybody else if that's all they're about, power.
Yeah, it looks like the Norwegian government and the British government are in trouble with Iran over these I guess, riots in the streets and everything, because they are actually talking about backing those rioters up and things. So now Iran is talking that they want to see their ambassadors and meet with them because of all the distraction they say these two countries are committing. But I don't know, the inside of what these European countries are doing. I know that they're controlled by the left-wing governments.
They're controlled by us. After World War II, America and England wanted to make sure that they would never lose their power again. And so this is just a continuation timeline of not letting go of the power we gained in World War II. We were the victors. We were never going to lose our power again. That's what the CIA and FBI and Pentagon were set on. And so that's why our world is the way it is. Europe still knows that America has the power over them. Germany is a puppet state of America. We set up their Bundeswehr or whatever. We set it up. The biggest CIA organization, Central Intelligence Organization, besides the US, is Germany. set up by us. So they're basically a puppet group off of us since we conquered them. And so we never want to let go. Then they're supposed to be a buffer against communism. So we set them up to be our protection. So Europe is basically, it's like a bully holding young kids in front of them, Europe, saying, protect, you're going to be our meat shields against communism. That's basically what it is. It's never let up. So Europe feels like we dominated them.
Yeah, the immigrants that's coming to this country, getting into the crime thing, and I think that's all pre-planned too. You have governors, Democrat governors and Democrat mayors of these locations, big cities that are having massive crime waves.
Sure.
I mean, it's scary. I'm afraid to go out, aren't you, Tom? Or would you be afraid to go?
This is part of the screenplay again, Dave. In the original work, The Immortals, they allow thugs and raiding parties to go in and disrupt the communities in order to have that kind of fear and disruption. That's in the story. And that's what the U.S. is allowing to happen to its own citizens. The FBI is allowing it. I have an insider who groomed me for the Masons that told me that in Oakland, California, they were told not to get involved in a murder of a young couple when they were seeing it happen, when they're on stakeout. Innocent young couple that got in line of fire. Do not intercede. They don't care about public citizens, even nice people. They only care about their agendas and the power that lies beneath that. So, and the infrastructure of it. So that's what's going on. I'm telling you, Dave, as soon as this defunding the FBI and CIA and the Pentagon's put straight, we're going to have a beautiful country, which will lead to a beautiful world. Because right now we've got a grip like this on the world ever since World War II. We're never going to let our power go. We have been saying that we're stepping in to help. We're the ones that institute the problems in these other countries to step in and be the hero.
Well, you have Biden now, though, who's giving it all away, or I don't know what he's trying to do. But getting back to this crime thing, getting back to this crime thing, they're not doing a thing about the crime.
Of course they're not.
But they'll go after an innocent Catholic man with a nice family. They go after him instead of going after all these crime people, these people that just robbed the store and tore it up the other day, and they're not doing a thing about it.
You know why? It keeps them in position, and keeps them in power, and keeps them funded. They want them. What they don't want is the intellects and the innocent families and other authors and stuff like that that can actually reveal them. The FBI said themselves a couple times, we only go after those that go after us. They don't care about the criminals hurting other innocent Americans or citizens. They care about anybody who might be able to intellectually articulate how they have abused their power. That's what they're afraid of.
Let me ask you about the police. Now, we know a lot of them being defunded, but there's police that are quitting at the highest rate ever in history. Sure. And are they quitting because they're afraid for their lives, or are they quitting because they know the secrets?
They know the secrets. They know the corruption. I've talked to a number of policemen. They know me because of being an author. And they've told me themselves about the corruption that's throughout all these different departments that answer to the FBI. It's like a disease. And so the FBI controlled the chiefs of police, given those yellow bricks and all those little awards. And they get brand new facilities like in Warrington Township with Dan Friel. Brand new chief of police that kept coming after me repeatedly. SWAT teams, helicopters, you name it. They're done out. And now they're making our police look like paramilitary. They're dressed up like they're Nazis. They're dressed up with the armaments, the body armor, the stuff to look like Darth Vader's squad. So they're making them actually, they're going more and more into a hostile military situation, what they did in Germany, where the police are going to look more and more like they're military personnel, boots on the soldiers.
Instead of calling them the brown shirts, they're all black. They have these black uniforms.
Well said, Dave. That's exactly what's going on.
Menacing.
That's right. So you're going to see a lot more police leaving because they do know what's going on.
Right. They're told to withhold from, actually enforcing the law on people.
That's right.
And told not to arrest certain people because
they're supposed to take the innocent out. How the SWAT team feel? They never gave me the cam footage. How'd they feel coming to a young author and his son and his elderly parents and with shoot to kill orders? How they feel when they told neighbors, "You be already inside. You don't want to see this," which means bloodshed.
Mm-hmm.
Innocent parties, and they know it. So it's starting to wear on them. Well, thank God it's starting to wear on the innocent ones.
Well, I have an immigrant a relative that just come here, and she told me that my wife and I are paranoid about the crime. I said, listen, young lady, I said, you know nothing about what's going on out there. And if you go to one of these big cities and you think you're going to be safe, you're not.
It's
Especially,
orchestrated crime. You're absolutely right.
yeah,
It's orchestrated. It's
yeah,
done for an agenda.
right. And
It's
especially
also
As an Asian, that's dangerous. I mean, it's a sad thing to call out a certain race, but there's also there's whites involved in crimes too, but there's a lot of black on white and black on Asian crimes in the street right
they
now.
want that. The media wants that.
Yeah,
But what you're going to see too is what I want to see is treason crime or treason prosecution, treason crimes against the head of the FBI and the head of the CIA. I want
yeah,
to see treason trials
yeah.
because they have honestly hurt and had others under them hurt those they're sworn to protect.
We don't want a race war, as you and I talked about. We have no racism. We want no civil war. We don't want any bloodshed. So we definitely want to just make this political, and let's get these policies and these procedures in to help this.
Let's get the baddies out of office.
Yeah, we're running out of time, Tom. So I got to say goodbye to everybody. You've been listening to the Dave and Tom Show, and we're syndicated through WODY Radio, and that's in Maryland, and that's Eddie Carson's, and also it's OdysseyRadioLive.com. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you.